Let's move on, because we do have to talk. We haven't talked yet about the feeling in the pit of Kenny Cunningham's stomach is that Spurs are going to beat Man City over 2 legs. They're going to go through.
Yeah, I've got a bit of. Yeah, I'll have to say that
Spider
as always.
sense.
Yeah, it's not just spider sense, because I mean I think there is an argument there for, you can make an obvious argument, footballing reasons, why Tottenham
Give me the obvious
can get the better. Well, just in terms of the quality that they can put on the football pitch, Spurs have struggled a little bit. Key players missing through injury during the course of the season. I might be proved wrong, but I don't think any of those key players will be missing. Certainly this evening, Ali in particular. Winks would be an interesting one. I don't know if he's fit and available. But everybody looks as if Kane's back in the team. He's got a few games under his belt. He's kind of struggled a bit injury-wise, getting his match fitness back. But I just think as well, and I'm not one who overplays the significance, the home support, the atmosphere in there, opposition players are going to wilt. I've never bought into that argument. But I think in terms of how the home support at the new, is it the new White Hart Lane? Technically
Whatever
what we call it is
Spurs Stadium.
Spurs Stadium? Is that it? Have we agreed on the new? What is the name of this? Sports Stadium.
Is White Hart Lane?
It's White Hart. It's a new White Hart Lane. Are we even saying the new White Hart Lane, or is it just it's White Hart Lane?
John, good morning to you.
Morning, Ger.
All right, John.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm trying to bring you into the conversation, but I'm going to wrestle it back off you now. I'm going to start talking again. Yeah, so I just think how that I just sense as if that is really going to energise the Spurs players this evening. Not to the point where it's hurt them and scared them stuff. They'll need to be cool, eyes cool on their heads in terms of tactically how they're going to go at the game. But I really feel as if it can lift the Spurs players this evening, and I think it could have a small bearing on the tie. I'm factoring as well.
Did you just go against your own firmly held views that the stadium doesn't matter except in this
to the home team? To the home team.
Because you've got
the home team.
sense.
No, the home team this
what
evening.
Is that?
The home team, as opposed to the away team. I've made the argument it can have a negative effect on the away team. I've never quite bought that, but I think it can really lift the Spurs team this evening. And the individual quality which they have, I still think they have the team which can disrupt Manchester City and get the better of them over the 2 legs. I think there's a lot closer this tie. I see this as a kind of a 55-45.
As a dodgy refereeing decision over the 2 legs, because like the ghost goal in the Liverpool.
You're not going to lead us on the VAR. Please tell me this isn't going to lead on the dodgy refereeing. Why we should use VAR? Thank God for that.
Is your microphone working? 1, 2, 3. Give us it.
Hello, this is Tottenham. This is Tottenham Television.
But Tottenham's energy, John, I'm going to cut in it.
We'll let you have the floor. It's okay.
I wasn't officially cutting it. You didn't start talking, but you think the kind of high energy, athletic, the likes of Sissoko in midfield, Son, Kane, Ali, those type of players, that kind of physicality. I know City have it a little bit as well in terms of City have pace, we know that. But Spurs have a real kind of aggressive, high energy, physicality, box to box. That type of, they can play that type of game as well. And I think that a team that can play that way against Manchester, Liverpool have done it occasionally, have that kind of high intensity, physicality, making tackles, players who can go box to box at pace, and they've disrupted City. I think Spurs can play that type of game as well. And that type of game, I think, can hurt Manchester City over the 2 legs. John,
are you daring
over to you?
How do I follow that? I don't think we're going to lose tonight. We've got 3 games against them, I think, in 11 days. I was at the Spurs City game in October 2016 and we bullied them off the park.
What was the score?
It was 2-0. It was the first defeat of Pep's reign.
I remember it.
At White Hart Lane, and Ali scored twice. Harry Kane wasn't even playing that day. We struggled against them a bit recently at Wembley. We played 2... we were caught out wide. Trippier was poor, I think, for the opening goal that Mahrez scored at Wembley there. But I think we played well against Liverpool despite the result. It's a 50-second competitive game for Manchester City this season. City generally have been doing their damage in the early stages of matches. I think they scored, 26 goals before the 20th minute. So we can keep them quiet. We can get the stadium behind the players. I think that will be a factor.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, we can definitely. I do think psychologically,
there's no inferiority complex amongst these Spurs players.
I don't think there is. With Manchester City, we qualified for the Champions League the first time ever by winning at Manchester City. We've gone there and won before at the Etihad. And
the stats coming out of man here, amazing.
So look, I think there are risks. Obviously, if we play a high press, which has worked, like for the likes of Liverpool last season with the 3-0 win, and Pep has had a strange record in the Champions League over the last 8 years. With Bayern, he had heavy defeats to Real and Barca. They lost to Monaco, Manchester City. So City can be got at. They can be vulnerable, but they are playing very well. They're going for the quadruple. De Bruyne is a massive danger. worry a little bit about the midfield, but the Tottenham midfield.
Winks fit tonight?
I think he'll play, yeah, but I'm not so sure how fit he is or how match sharp he is.
Yeah.
I think they probably need to play three at the back. I would say they probably need to play wing backs and have the likes of crowd that midfield with Winks and Sissoko. So
I'm not sure about that one. I understand what you're saying in terms of you get that extra man in defence, but the problem that is it leaves you a little bit light down the side. You play with your wing backs, but it's very easy then for Manchester City to get those overloads down the side. The Manchester City full backs to get themselves high early into the Spurs half the pitch. For me, I'd like to see Spurs go 4-3-3 with two natural wide men, so you can go and press them as early as Manchester City can high up the pitch. When you play with the wing backs, the Manchester City full backs will be able to get the ball under no pressure and get into the Spurs half very easily for me before that kind of pressure comes. I know Spurs have had some success playing out the back line. They actually do play it very well. When I look at City, for me it's a back four, almost at 4-3-3, 5 across in midfield, and no obvious ins, no obvious avenues for Manchester. You have to really work to get through your midfield and get at that defensive line. And I think Spurs, you can make an argument for some teams, get that extra defender in there, help you out. But Spurs, in terms of Alderweireld, Vertonghen, you could argue Sanchez, 2 of those 3 for me should be good enough. You pick your full-backs alongside them to be able to deal with the City front line, as long as they're getting the right type of protection in front. And a midfield 5 for me gives that back 4 the type of protection they need.
So Ericsson and Son are essentially playing midfield forward in that 5.
Well, you could play. They're so versatile. You could play Ericsson off the line. You could play Son. Ali can play in a wide area as well. You could play Ericsson just off the front in a 3, in front of 2 kind of holding midfielders.
4-2-3-1.
Yeah, that's far. Yeah, we're splitting hairs, like, you know what I mean. But that's kind of.
I would want Ali to be picking up Fernandinho. I think we can curb Fernandinho. That'll be important because he's generally the fulcrum for their play. So I've got to go. Look, gut can bring you into.
Your gut's not the same. There we go.
My gut is saying,
no glory, lad.
I'm going to be laying Manchester City tonight. I don't think Manchester City are going to win tonight. What happens over 2 legs, I don't know, but it's difficult to keep the run going. It's like, there's a lot of matches they've been playing, a lot of matches, and I know they're in form. I'm worried about players like De Bruyne. Sergio Aguero will probably be back tonight. It seems like he's been rested the last couple of matches, but there is an intangible, and the intangible is the circumstances, the new stadium, the fact that Tottenham have been a little bit.
Why is it automatically positive though? Why does it not take them a little bit of time to acclimatise to new surroundings? What? But
I'm talking about what I'm talking about is like the energy inside the stadium, and I think this is an experienced Spurs team. People talk about the young talent in the squad, but it's a very experienced, almost you could argue a battle-hardened Spurs team now, although they're reasonably young in terms of the average age. And I think that type of player, you got to revel in that type of atmosphere. Your home ground as well. Difficult. I haven't been at the new stadium, but you get that sense of it. Even looking at pictures of it, listening to the players, you get a bit of a sense that there's going to be that type of energy there. And if the Spurs players can kind of feed off that, and say staying away from that, I know they're the kind of intangibles that we're talking about, just slightly swerving it back again to the teams. I look at Spurs and find it very difficult. Put your strongest team out. I look at Spurs, no obvious weaknesses there. You could argue the same for the top 4 or 5. Get your strongest team in the pitch, there's no weaknesses there. But as good as Manchester City are, I was at Manchester City Fulham a couple of weeks ago. I was sitting in the stand watching the game, and they're reasonably strong. Fernandinho didn't play, but it was pretty much the strongest team. But Otamendi played right side of it, a defensive too. And every time I watch them play, and he's in the team, and Otamendi's not a bad player, he's a good player, international, etc., etc., etc. But he is an obvious weakness in the Manchester City team. That is an obvious. As good as they are, they could end up winning 5, the greatest team in the world. They could end up doing it with a lad at centre-half who can really be exposed in 1v1 situations. And the Fulham did it on occasions. Fulham didn't play particularly well, didn't really hurt Manchester City. But if you're going to get it against Manchester City, if Guardiola elects to play, doesn't have to, Stones is back fit now, but if Nicolas Otamendi plays against Tottenham in either one of those games, for me, that is a red flag straight away. That's going to be the whole conversation in the Spurs dressing room immediately before the game. When that team sheet comes in and Nicolas Otamendi's there, the talk's going to be, let's get at him. whether it's Kane, Ali, whoever else, let's get him down that side of the pitch, let's get on the shoulder, because he's rash, he's not particularly quick on the turn, and he'll give up chances. So if you're asking in terms of weaknesses, Manchester City, nickels on him and he takes to the pitch in any one of those two games, that is the Spurs in, and that could be the difference over the two legs.
Okay, well, we'll know an hour before kick-off.
Yeah, you know, the way that the stadium has been described by the people who've been there is that you know, the seats are very close to the pitch. They've got a really strong kind of Dortmund style south stand with 17,500 fans. And I just think generally, if you look at Anfield, if you look at Manchester United on a European night, you do get that feel. I haven't played the game. Kenny's played the game. He might have obviously a better view than I will. But I do think that's going to inspire the likes of Harry Kane, Christian Eriksen, Dele Alli. This is what it's all about. This is what they live for. Champions League quarter-final. This is what Spurs have been aiming towards for years. I was at the last 16 game against AC Milan in 2011, the last time we were really at the stage of the ballpark. They got to the quarterfinals, thumped 5-0 over both legs by Real Madrid, but it was a progression, it was a novelty, right? Hearing the Champions League music at Tottenham was an absolute novelty. That was, 8 years ago under Harry Redknapp. Now is expectation. Now there's a new stadium. Now these players, if they can't lift themselves, now they haven't been able to lift themselves for Southampton and Burnley in recent weeks, but if they can't lift themselves for this, then they are being very Spursy. And also, they played very well against Liverpool.
Go on, John.
Come on! They played very well against Liverpool in the second half. And they played very well in midfield, and they probably should have won the game. So, on their day, Spurs are capable of beating anybody. Just over two legs, I'll be a little bit worried.
Do you think they're going through?
No, I'm not going to. Don't. I need to see the teams.
Okay.
But I am so.
Going back.
Hair's breadth between them, and that's generally hasn't been the talk, is it? People talk Manchester City, yeah, Spurs, yeah, whatever, decent team, but yeah, Manchester City are going through.
Well,
I'd see it slightly different. I think it is that close, and it'll come down to those small little margins in terms of team selections, etc. Potentially even over the two legs.
If City don't, that is a bad outcome for Guardiola. It's a bad outcome.
Well, he's still got the Charity Shield to, fall the Community Shield to fall back on.
Every year he doesn't win the Champions League is another year of his career wasted, because, he's supposed to be this singular talent who has changed world football, and the whole point of being the person who changes world football is that you win the biggest competitions. He's had everything in terms of money and finance and the apparatus of the club put in place with the express goal of winning the Champions League, and every year he doesn't is a failure. As he would see that. He doesn't think it's been a great year if he wins the league again this year. He's gone, well, that didn't work. What am I going to do different next year?
Yeah, there's always that lingering thing with Guardiola a little bit. I think there's a bit of substance too in terms of his success at Barcelona in terms of Champions League victories. Yeah, look at the players he had available, the best players in the world. Messi, obviously, but in terms of Xavi, Iniesta at their very peak, etc. So that's the argument there. Now, I think that's a little bit unfair, but you have to manage that, you have to coach that, you got to tactically step up.
Has he been able to replicate it elsewhere? He didn't really, at a Champions League level. He didn't at Bayern at a Champions League level. He had a Manchester City at a Champions League level. He's done everything else, but at a Champions League level, the tactics have not worked.
So he hasn't done it, you're right, at Bayern Munich with inferior players. Now, other managers have won a Champions League with inferior teams. Mourinho done it with Porto.
Inter Milan.
Exactly. So other managers have done it with not the greatest players, but they've clubbed them together, they put something on the pitch which has worked, and they've found a way through. He wasn't able to do that with Bayern Munich. And at Manchester City, now you wouldn't say that's an inferior Manchester City squad. He's gone and spent big.
Yeah.
Now, if he can't win that big competition with the resources available at Manchester City, that argument is going to continue, maybe even grow a little bit louder.
Yeah, he needs to win one for himself to feel like it's been a successful season. And it might not be this year. If it's not next year, then that's when all of a sudden that relationship, you begin to see some kind of fracture in it. John, you're feeling confident?
It's not going to be this year, is it?
I'm feeling confident about tonight. Yeah, I don't think we're going to lose. I really don't. And I think the Spurs are a good team away from home, that if we do get something tonight, as Kenny says, it's up for grabs.
It's game on.
It is game on. And
game on. Let's leave it at that. It's game on.
I'm waiting. There's always that lingering disappointment which comes.
Oh, don't finish on a negative.
But it's 33 years, Kenny. It's 33 years, Kenny, of disappointments and being like,
no, John,
the human mirage, Kenny, and the water's there, it's in the ground, and I'm going to go and drink, and then it's not there.
Negative vibes, John, negative vibes. I would have streamed your speech into the Spurs dressing room up to about 15 seconds ago. It's gone, it's just car crash finish.